Hi, I'm Zayla. Welcome to my art journey. In today's video, I am going to be creating painting number 2 of my monochromatic series. Today's color is going to be Quinacridone Rose from Daniel Smith, and I am planning to recreating something similar to this. This is a drawing that I did during Inktober, so I want to recreate something similar. I'm not precisely going to follow it step by step. This is going to be my inspiration for today's video. So if that interests you, let's get painting.
So I have my sketchbook here with the drawing. I am not going to be following this stroke for stroke, but I do want to follow the C shape of the flower wreath. And I'll just be having the sketchbook handed to the side, just to reference back throughout the painting. This is the painting from last week's video, the monochromatic in the yellow ochre. So if you haven't seen that, go and check it out. So I'm just going to get my palette ready. I have to reactivate my paints, which I haven't done yet. So I'm just going to add some water, allow it to sit and do its thing. I'm going to be using these two brushes, mainly a size 6 round brush and a size 6 spotter. It has a much thinner tip, so I think it will be helpful for details. I also have the dagger brush. I don't think I'll be using it, but it's right here next to me. So my main focus is going to be the sunflower, which is what I'm going to be starting with. So now the water has had some time to set, so I'm just going to be grabbing some paint from the well, and because I've added some water in the well already, it's just going to help it make it more runny just for that first layer. I have the my easel on a slant, so I think that's the paint running down, but that's okay. So starting with a thin layer of the Quinacridone Rose, just to make an oval more than a circle, as the sunflower is in an angle, so I obviously want to recreate that. I can already see that I have put a bit too much pigment on, so I'm just doing some lifting up as I go. And now I'm just going to start with the shapes of the petals. These are the petals that are going to be in the background, so they are going to be slightly bigger and also lighter. And in this bottom section, as I have the flower in an angle, they are going to be naturally smaller, just to give the sense of perspective. And as I'm going around, I am curving the petals, just following the shape. I'm just adding a little bit of extra pigment around the bottom section here, because I want this to be my darker side. As always, when you are applying the paint, you can, whilst it's still wet, you can manipulate it quite a lot and correct things. Here the petals are still a little bit wet, so therefore the paint is bleeding into them, but that's absolutely fine because there's a lot more work to do still. But I do want the added thickness just to add more darkness into this section. So I'm just adding some buds. As you can see here, this stem, it's quite thick, but as the painting progresses, I will be coming back to this and adding slightly thicker consistency just to give it more depth, and you will see that this actually turns out looking quite well. So this is the leaf from the sunflower. They do have some, not spikes, but they're not completely flat around. So I just started making the normal shape of the leaf, and then I add the little spikes all the way around just to help me with the shape, as I find the shape of this flower a little tricky with this all the way around. Here I'm just adding a little bit of thicker consistency just to recreate the shadow of the petal onto the leaf. And again, using the wet on wet, I am adding some more depth into the areas that will be naturally darker. I'm just adding another leaf using the same method, creating the shape of the leaf and then adding the little spikes. I'm sure that's not what they're called, but that's what I call them. As you could see, you were not able really to differentiate the leaf from the petals, so I'm just going back. The petals have started to dry, so the paint isn't running into them, so I've just added a slightly thicker consistency of the paint around it, and now it's beginning to pop. I'm just creating some more buds here and there just to start filling up the spaces and just starting to curve into the C shape that I want the wreath to be. As you can see here, when I started with the sunflower, I was using the size 6 round brush. Oh, there's thistle. It really was quite tricky to paint the smaller details of smaller flowers, smaller buds, so I changed to the spotter brush, and as it doesn't contain, it's not able to hold as much water and it has a really fine point, then these details are a lot easier to make. As things begin to dry, it's easier to add some wet and dry details, and that's what's making the wreath look a little bit more 3D as opposed to a complete flat wash that we get at the very first, on the very first layer. With watercolor, it's very important to remember to layer, as watercolor is transparent. It does need all the layers in order to any kind of subject to have a 3D shape. So here I'm adding a coneflower. Coneflowers are also one of my favorite flowers. They just got this really interesting shape that I find extremely fun. And then I'm just adding the inner petals of the sunflower. Whereas they are in the inside section, I have decided to make them darker, and I'm just filling in the gaps in between the petals in the background. At the moment there is a really big difference in the hue between the first petals and these ones, but there's still a lot of work to do, and as you will see at the end, I'll be coming back and doing something so that it's more cohesive. And I'm just going around following the shape of the sunflower. I've already seen that these are quite dark myself, and I'm just trying to lift some of the paint, not too much though. And here I'm just going backwards and forwards between the top section and the bottom section, as I want to see what it's more cohesive, and I want to slowly be building up the C shape. So I head to the top and then go back to the bottom. I add details in one place and then I just go back to the other one slowly just so that it looks cohesive and it's got that C shape that I'm looking for. I'm also just adding some leaves, as well as flowers, just to fill in all the gaps. This is another flower, no particular shape. I think I wanted to make it into a 5-petal flower, but I didn't calculate well, and I think I ended up doing 6. But it's not any particular flower, it's just a flower which is smaller than the sunflower, which is the center. I obviously want the sunflower to be the most important element, and I don't want to create anything in any other parts of the painting that might distract from the sunflower. So I'm just filling everything up between leaves and flowers, using the wet and wet and wet and dry all throughout. It's kind of hard to believe that this is going to turn out into something pretty, but of course, as this is a voiceover, I've already seen the final result and I think it's pretty good. And as I did last week, I will be doing a little reflection at the end of the video with everything that I have learned, so stay tuned for that. So these coneflowers have a lot of petals, and so they didn't become one big blob, I have let it dry, and now I'm just coming back and adding another layer on top just to add the petals in between, and just adding some leaves. I'm just starting to add some wet and dry details, so I'm just doing the veins of the leaf, and I'm just going to be going around all the elements within the wreath just to give them some details and make them pop. And this is the part that makes the painting become something worth looking at. Here I wanted to do the stem of the coneflower, and I realized in order to go with the flow of the wreath, I wanted to make it go towards the left side, but I feel like the way I positioned the coneflower, the stem wanted to go to the right side, so that's why I made that start. But at the end of the painting, you can't even see that, so I'm not even going to lift it up because you won't be able to see it. And this is the part of the painting that I enjoyed the most, adding more water just to create more depth, because at the moment the sunflower isn't looking very good or promising, so I'm just going around adding some water with a little bit of pigment, and then I'm just gonna start adding a slightly thick paint with thicker consistency just to create the depth and the darker areas. in this section, what I want to be able to do is to make sure that you can see the sunflower in the center. It's not completely flat, that it has roundness to it, and there is the center area where it goes inwards, I suppose, and then it becomes darker because it's deeper within the flower. And then I'm just going to do the same around the bottom and all the way around. I'm just using a slightly thicker consistency of the paint, and I'm just literally dotting into the painting, and then as there isn't a lot of water, the paint is moving but not a lot, and it's creating this very interesting texture that recreates the texture of the actual sunflower. And I'm just going round in circles because that's how you would find it in nature-ish. Of course, this isn't realistic, but I'm trying to recreate the depth and the shape, so that's what I'm going for here. And as I'm going more towards the center, I am making all these dots more separate in between them. And of course, as we know, watercolor dries a lot lighter. So in here I had realized that you couldn't really see the veins of the leaf, so I'm just going over it. I think from this point is where the painting started to get really fun, because it's at the moment it was more of a flat wash all around and it didn't look like much, so it was definitely the ugly face of the painting. But now adding additional layers, having more pigment than water, allows me to create the depth that I'm always talking about. So all of these details are quite intricate, so it does take quite some time to do all the building up, but it is totally worth it because it is what makes it into an actual painting as opposed to a plain, lifeless kind of like drawing. And I'm just going around all the shapes, adding the veins, and just going around just to make it more fun and interesting. This is very, very loose, obviously not going for realism. It's a practice exercise. So this brush doesn't hold a lot of water and pigment, so I am constantly having to go back into my palette and picking up more pigment. And throughout, as I'm doing these details, I can see when the paint starts to fade, and then I need to go and grab more pigment. So it's a slow process. Going back into the cornflower, at the moment it was looking more like a big blob, so by adding these extra petals on the top, it just has a difference in the layers of the petals. The ones in the background are quite faded right now, but I will be adding some extra lines for added depth and just to recreate the texture of the petals in nature, because they're not completely flat. And then here I realized that I had gone over the coneflower without having done anything in the center area, and of course I have to go very carefully. I have my hand quite uptight, just trying not to smudge the coneflower top tip. Go in order from top to bottom to help yourself not smudge. So these were the first flower buds that I made, and the stamen was quite thick, but like I said, I come back and I add a thicker layer of paint around one side, and now it no longer looks extremely thick because the light stamen has kind of disappeared. And now I'm going around the sunflower. I am adding some more of these vein lines. I am following the shape of the sunflower just to give the petals some direction. And the petals in the background had become almost invisible because the layers at the front were quite strong, so I'm just going around them and just make them, incorporate them back into the flower as they had kind of vanished. So adding all of these lines to add more depth depends on your personality, can be quite relaxing or pretty intense because there is a lot of repetition. So if you like the repetition side of things, then this is quite good, but otherwise, because there's so many details on so many leaves and flowers, it does take some time, but I do like it. I find it quite relaxing, so that works for me. I just felt that it didn't quite look like a C shape yet, so I've just gone and added some more very loose florals here in the top section, and I am almost like drawing them, and because they're so small, the white of the paper just acts as highlight, so I quite like that effect. I felt like this top section just needed a bit more building up, and as you can see, I have added some leaves and I'm just following that C shape, but I think overall the composition, it's pretty much finished. It's just a case of adding more depth into all of the petals and flowers, just so they're a bit more 3D. I do have a lot of moments where I stop, I have a look and think what looks best. Do I need to add a bit more here, a bit more there? And of course I just make an assessment as I go along. This was meant to be like daisy flower, but I don't know, I ended up making like cornflower. I wonder why. As you can see now that the layers of the cornflower have dried, it's no longer a single blob. You can see the difference in the petals, the top layers and the bottom layers. Just going over the veins of this leaf and just the shadow that is casting, the petals are casting onto the leaf. But yeah, I think it's done. Quite happy with the result. When I bring this up close, it looks a lot better. Okay, so now on to the learning points. I want to start with the technical aspect. I find it that doing the voiceover, it's probably going to be a lot easier for me in the future, just because I don't have to be talking as well as thinking what I'm painting. But at the point of doing this reflection, I haven't done the voiceover yet, so I'll see how that goes. But it was easier to not have to think about what I'm painting and also talking, so that was a bonus. Also, in terms of the painting, as soon as I started, I realized that the ink version of the the drawing was a lot easier to make than the painting, because the flowers and the leaves were so small and detailed that made it really, really hard to do it. I started off with the size 6 round brush, but I had to switch over to this spotter because it just was really, really difficult, and that really, really helped. I used that throughout the whole video, but perhaps I wouldn't recommend to do something so detailed in a monochromatic painting, just so that you're not complicated your life so much. But you know, I obviously like to do that time and again, but I think you only really realize exactly what you're doing when you start doing it, especially if you've not tried a painting before. In last week's video I did a first version, but and then the painting recording was the second. This one was just the first one overall, because obviously the ink doesn't have anything to do with the watercolor. So yes, once again, doing a little practice would have been better, but at the same time, I'm quite busy with work, so I had to try and make the most of my time and just get to it. And in that way, I just get to learn right there and then in front of you, and then just pick up and change things as I move along. But overall, I am really happy with the final result. I'm definitely going to be continuing to do more monochromatic paintings throughout this YouTube journey, and I invite you to follow me along. So if you enjoyed this video, please comment and like and let me know what you think, and see you in the next one.